for Ask Me Anything. We'll start with a small presentation just to give you an update on some of the things that have been happening or something that is coming up. So the presentation will be by myself and my colleague Madhvi, who is the senior IP specialist, and then the board members behind me who will also be joining us for the Ask Me Anything session. So I think Yes, okay. All right, so looking back to, I think, the past 2 or 3 days, we've seen a number of presentations regarding maybe IPv6, IPv4, IPv4 exertion. And one of the key areas I want to highlight here is the fact that we are indeed reaching the exhaustion phase of IPv4. My next slide will talk about IPv6, but as you can see the numbers here on this slide, at AFRINIC at the moment, we only have about 700,000 IP addresses, IPv4 that is, remaining in our available pool. We still have another reserved pool of about 1 million IP addresses. But if you look at the digital migration, the digital transition that is taking place at the moment, these numbers are close to nothing. They cannot support and sustain the growth that is desired. So South Africa remains our biggest consumer in terms of IP addresses. For the past 3 years, South Africa has been the highest. But again, transition to IPv6 has remained a challenge. I have on the slides here, you can see how many members of AFRINIC have been adopting IPv6. And if you look at the numbers in the past 5 or 6 years, the numbers are still low. At the moment, we're talking about 28% only who have at least rolled out IPv6 on their networks. That still shows a big gap. At AFRINIC, we still have initiatives that we are doing, trying to get members to adopt IPv6. We do have a help desk that you can call at any time. We make schedules, we work with you, and we help you roll out IPv6. We also do deploy-a-thon sessions. I think a month ago, the call went out, or 2 months ago, for hosts to host us for these deploy-a-thons. So we're trying to help as much as possible operators not only to get IPv6 from us, but actually to roll out IPv6 on their networks. So in addition, we also have other initiatives, including the IPv6 Academy, where you can go and do free trainings on IPv6. For those members that have IPv4 from AFRINIC, you get IPv6 for no cost. So we're really trying to do as much as possible to ensure that IPv6 deployment in this region really takes effect. In addition to that, while we are depleting, and in the meantime, we can only issue, in terms of IPv4, a limited pool of resources that is limited to /24 at one go. However, we also do have another mechanism that for a short period of time can enable somebody looking for more than /22 to be able to get from through the transfers. So we do have a transfer policy. Of course, we haven't seen a lot of traction, but for those who may find a willing source to give them a pool that they may be looking for, which is more than what AFRINIC can issue, there is that mechanism, which goes through a legitimate process. You get evaluated and make sure that all the applicable policies are followed, and you can go and grow your networks. In addition to that, this current particular policy of transfers is only intra-LIR, which means only operators within the region are able to do it. There's a new policy that has just been ratified that extends that to also allow transfers from either outside or a certain pool can be allowed to go out. My colleague Matt will talk more about that in terms of that policy. So that particular policy also allows the transfer of autonomous system numbers. So it has been recently ratified. We are working on the implementation of that, and we'll announce soon on the how we are going to implement the particular policies. So as part of our process, we also duly claim some resources. So in the meantime, we do have another pool that is also slowly growing because companies may go out of business, they may change business models. We end up taking back those resources. Eventually, we'll have to issue them out, but in the current particular policy, it is only limiting to what we have in the available pool now. This particular new pool that is growing up, we want the, what we call the policy discussion working group to also advise us on how best to handle that particular pool so that it can become, or when it becomes available, it will have a defined set of rules that we'll have to follow in managing that. So this is the pool I was talking about. Now I'll move on and speak about just product and services, a brief update before I move on and hand over to my colleague. So, so one of the key things that we are working on this year is what we call the AFRINIC. This is the portal which provides the interface for resource management to our members. Now, this has been a very long-awaited project. The current tool that we're using is very old, almost 20 years now, and it can really not support the demands of today. So we started the project back in 2020. So many things have happened in between, impacting the progress. With the coming back of the board, we have put this as a primary project for this year, and we plan to go live by end of this year. So once that one go live, we also want to move on to some of the most critical services that needs upgrade. So one of the key areas I'm talking about now is RPKI. I think in a few sessions today, not even only today and yesterday, I've really gotten I've had the feedback and demonstration of how people want these updates to come as quickly as possible. Now, in addition to the constraints that we have in terms of resources and prioritization of V2, we're currently planning to come up with some of these in a very scaled approach. For instance, right now, on the RPK side, we've been working on the AS0 project. So this project is also driven by a policy. This particular project also had faced a number of delays because of constraints that we've had recently. But now moving on, we've worked on a new approach using what we call CREER as the tool that we use as our CA. We'll roll out this project for beta testers by end of June. So beta testers can work with it and give us feedback before we roll it out fully. Other work that we're also doing in that aspect of RPKI is we are cleaning out the database of some certificates, what we call the route origin authorization certificates, that were longly encoded. Some of the elements were longly encoded. So we are working on cleaning up that. This was caused practically by some of the upgrades that we did at a certain period of time, and then it made them non-conformant to the specifications of the RFC. So we are working on cleaning that, and we plan to finish that work by the end of July. And the last one, I think, and these are the two most important elements that I think most of the community here and across the continent are waiting for, is us providing the dedicated RPKI as well as ASPA. So I think, as I said, we're currently focusing on bringing out the AFRINIC first, version 2, and then upon that, the key priority area will now go to these particular 2 elements. This is just a summarized roadmap of those products. And then I think having given that, I also have to thank the community here for the part that they played in the election of the board of directors. This has given us a new sense of direction. It has given us more confidence in terms of the direction that we are taking. I think there's also an impending coming of a CEO, which we expect that it will bring more stability in the operations. So that should help us also give back to the community the service that they expect and deserve. So that's how I end my speech. Thank you for your attention, and I'll call upon my colleague, Matthew.
So how do you use that?
This and practice it again.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. I'd love to have all these empty seats filled, but I have to accept that it's one of the last sessions of the day. Thank you to Zalog Committee for allowing us a presentation slot, allowing us to talk to you. So I'm Madhvi Gokul. I work for AFRINIC, 16 years now, and my current role is as the Senior IP Resources Specialist, and I also act as the policy liaison. I'm addressing you today primarily regarding policy development, but I have a couple of slides where, while you can ask me anything today, I plan on asking you for some actions. All right, so please bear with me. So, resources. Okay, ISPs in the room, those who use IP addresses, customers, internet services. Okay, you're here. The resources that you get, right? James doesn't sit and decide, oh, this org will get a /24 today. Oh, that one, I like him. We'll give them a /22. Doesn't happen that way. There are policies that existed at the time that I joined AFRINIC that grew from 2010 until now. So it grew from 2005 until now, all right? It evolved. We have new policies. We have better policies, right? These policies work for both the operators who have a need of resources, as well as a guidance for AFRINIC, the registration services at AFRINIC, the member services team at AFRINIC, as to how to allocate the resources in a fair and transparent manner, right? The policies are also needs-based. I'm not inventing the words. Control F on the manual, you'll find demonstrated needs there, right? So, in brief, these resource policies are developed through an open, the bottom-up approach. Doesn't come down from the board down to staff. It's from a bottom-up approach. We have a community, a technical community. Unfortunately, I have a slide on what sector is absent from that community, right? So individuals would write policy proposals. We have a framework which we call the policy development process. These policies get discussed, right? We look for rough consensus. If there's a rough consensus within the community, that's when these policies will actually be given to the board for recommending ratification. The board either ratifies or does not. In February this year, there were 3 policies that had reached consensus way back before the governance issue we faced, and that were waiting for ratification. 2 of them got ratified, 1 wasn't, and it has been sent back to the policy mailing list for further refinements. And then it also expired. So when the board has ratified a policy, it comes to staff now to start implementing it. Implementation can take as many as 1 day or 2 days if it's just text, there's no technical implementation to happen, but it can take a while. If it's a technical implementation, if we have to reconfigure our systems, right? So that's why some of you may have to wait for certain implementation to happen because of the technical implementation. Where we can do things manually, it's been done in the past to speed things up so that not to block operators. We've been able to do that. Now, so the bottom-up process. So once these policies are implemented, we document them in a manual, which we call the Consolidated Policy Manual. Any change to that manual now has to go through the policy development process again, okay? Which means 6 months, if AFRINIC doesn't have any governance issues, or 3 years, or 3 to 4 years, when we could not hold a public policy meeting, right? So the thing here is, before, when the discussion phase, when policies are being discussed, this is when everyone should be observing, participating, okay, and making sure that it works for them, right? Because once it's implemented, then you find a couple of issues, you have to go through the process again. Yeah, so when the policies get implemented, it's applicable to all the resource members who are members of AFRINIC, and then any potential organizations that want to become members, right? So we have a policy discussion mailing list, resource policy discussion, RPD mailing list. And I've spent time looking at the subscribers, analyzing the email addresses that are subscribed to it, etc. We have 2,500 resource members now, only 122 corporate contacts, okay? Only 122 resource members are subscribed to the list with their corporate contacts. Some of them have more than one contact. 4.8%, right? When we reached soft landing in 2017, we had less than 2,000 members, right? So with the policy, the 4.8% of our membership would actually know about a policy that is under discussion now. And the 96% of our members will know about it perhaps when AFRINIC starts communicating about it, or when we've reconfigured our systems and then they find, oh, this is what happened here. All right, why has this changed? Why can't I get more than my /16, for example? We had that issue way back. Okay, the policy changed, so 96% of our members did not know about it, or even more, I would say. So you get to learn about it at implementation. So what I'm asking, or I'm gently requesting is, it's high time that our members become involved in our policy landscape. The same story is for the members' discussion list. We have not added our members to it. What we have asked for is for our members, this is the members' discuss mailing list, please subscribe to it. There's a validation that is done in the back, just because we need to ensure that the members' contacts come on the list. Same thing, 4% of our members are on that mailing list, right? If anything, any problematic issue is being faced by a member, they want to reach out to the other members, they will not find them. They may not find them. 96% of the members are not on that list, right? So I've put up these 2 QR codes for you to facilitate your registration. 50% of the subscribers on the RPD list are non-corporate accounts, Gmail accounts, Hotmail, Yahoo, all right? So we don't know if they represent a resource member or not. But we would appreciate if resource members using one corporate email, if they do subscribe, at least the person who's subscribed to the mailing list is able to speak on behalf of the organization, right? And yeah, so in December 2024, while we were having the governance issues, etc., ICANN published the ICP2 implementation procedures. We were the last RIR to be accredited by ICANN through the ICP2 document. And one of the, so what's expected from AFRINIC, from an RIR, because an AFRINIC, okay, because we were accredited at ICP2, and also its community, okay, is that I copied this section, but you can go through the whole document. So initially, 2005, we had the support of our community defined here by ISPs, all right? People were telling us stories about them going to ISPs to seek support, okay, for AFRINIC at that time. But what the ICP2 implementation procedures mean, even now, we have our members who are supporting us financially. You pay your fees on time. Most of you pay your fees on time, all right? But we have lost you on the matters of policy development. That bottom-up approach that we have, we do not see you actively participating in that. So this is where I'm asking you if you can start getting more involved in this, in the policy landscape at AFRINIC. So there are 2 ratified policies. The abuse contact policy update. So there would be an abuse C with an abuse mailbox that we'll be implementing. The implementation needs to happen on both the WHOIS and the MyAFRINIC portal. We'll try and, we will find a way of having that the earlier the possible, but I'm not sure yet about the MyAFRINIC side. But the further require intervention by the recipient. So the resource members here, you're already a member of AFRINIC. When this policy is implemented, I'm giving you a headway on it. Think about setting up your abuse, okay? The policy says it requires, so if someone sends an email to that abusee, it requires intervention by the recipient. Who's the recipient here? The members. You'll give us the abusee yourself. You'll give us that mailbox yourself, all right? And then they must not require the reporter to complete a form. They must guarantee that abuse reports and the related logs, examples, or email headers are received. And then AFRINIC will do the validation for the abusee and the abuse mailbox. So there are 2 sides here. The members have to do some part, and then AFRINIC, besides implementing the abusee, we will also have to do the validation. Okay, it will be a phased implementation. We'll let you know more about it later on. Then we have the AFRINIC number resources transfer policy. It allows for inter-RIR transfers of ASNs and some specific categories of IPv4, meaning the IPv4 addresses that our members have gotten from us, from the AFRINIC managed pool. That means non-legacy, all right? Those cannot be transferred out. So any legacy resource holders, it is a market transfer, right? This is a market transfer policy. Any legacy resource holders in the region, they can sell their IP addresses and transfer out to the other regions. I think it's one good news about the policy development. We did not see it here, but at the time that this policy was being discussed, there was one RIR that did not have a compatible transfer policy with AFRINIC. That was ARIN. When this policy was ratified earlier in the year, we reached out, just to check if the other RIRs, the other free RIRs, actually, that were compatible with us, do their policies are still compatible. Then we were told, AFRINIC's policy evolved. So now, because they now have a restriction on the inter-RIR transfers, so now they are also compatible with AFRINIC. So that's one evolution that we've seen in the policy development landscape, but at another RIR, all right, which tells you that sometimes policies evolve for the better, all right. Some of them would have a bigger market impact to transfer out to. And then there was a pain point, intra-RIR transfers within the region of AS numbers. The previous policy allowed for IPv4 only addresses to be transferred between two organizations in our region. And that was a pain point for some of you. And now this policy, when it will be implemented, it will also allow for ASNs to be transferred in the region. It's a market transfer of ASN. Money could change hands, but in fact, it's more, it will apply specifically to those who have not gone through an M&A. They don't qualify under merger and acquisition to transfer resources. So that's one way of getting the ASN over to another organization so that they can still use it. Okay. Right. So that was policy development. Question to you all: who thinks that now they can subscribe to the RPD mailing list? Only one hand.
Already subscribed.
Those who are not subscribed. Come on. The room cannot be filled with only 4%. That 4% is already subscribed. Okay. Now, all right. If I have not yet convinced you, I'm here. You can tell me what prevents you. What is the blocker? Right? If we know what's the blocker, then perhaps we can work on removing the blocker. It's not working? Okay. All right. Okay, I take note of that. Okay. Now we come to some slides where we are grateful. Yes, Mark.
Can I ask some questions first before you change subjects?
Okay.
Okay, this is Mark Elkins. I'm a previous director of AFRINIC as well. For a long, long time, I preach DNSSEC, as people may have noticed. And that includes DNSSEC on IP addresses or IP blocks. Mm-hmm. But there are two ways currently of updating the information. One way is to send an email, which hopefully will get processed, but I don't like doing that. And the other way right now is via going onto the website and literally copying your DS records and other stuff into the system. And again, well, the way that I talk to ZARC to update an EPP record, a DS record is using EPP. I would love AFRINIC to implement some form of limited EPP so that DNSSEC information could be updated literally automatically, mm-hmm. which would make it a lot easier on me. And if it's easier on me, then maybe other people would be interested in doing the same sort of thing as well. I have asked for this before, number one. Number two, IPv6 that you were speaking about. I would assume that AFRINIC has a list of everyone who's got IPv4 and who also has an ASN. And therefore, by definition, also you know who has and who has not asked for an IPv6. And if there are people in AFRINIC who have not asked for an IPv6 block, has AFRINIC communicated to those people and asked them, why have you not, ignore the Luhengs, but why have you not asked for an IPv6? To try and encourage them. In other words, do the selling from your side, and you can also at the same time say, hey, we do courses on IPv6, blah, blah, blah. So you can learn about IPv6 to help, because everyone, when they want IPv6, they have to come to you first. But perhaps we can help make that part of the system easier. Is that fair? Or have you done this already?
We've done this before, but I think we have
rinse and
another
repeat.
problem. Yes, we do take note of that. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, I haven't finished yet.
Okay.
The mailing list stats. Yes, I'm very depressed that the number of people who have applied for, who have added themselves to mailing lists is extremely small. My suggestion there would be when a new applicant for the first time ever comes in, is on the, oh, you need to sign this and all the rest of it, and you actually need to, you should, in order to keep within the community, you should subscribe to these particular mailing lists, get your techie guy to go there, etc., etc. I think it needs to be pushed, to be encouraged. I don't know that that happens. And then I greatly applaud you for telling us to apply here. That makes perfect sense, because there's a lot of us who have neglected to do that. And then you're complaining about Gmail addresses, and I totally agree with you. Having a conversation today about Gmail means nothing. But if you're an ISP and you've got IP addresses, you should have your own domain name. Therefore, you should have your own email addresses that correspond with that domain name. Therefore, you should be able to use those email addresses on your application form for AFRINIC, or at least do so within a few months. And therefore, we would have proper identity, non-Gmail addresses on the AFRINIC mailing list. And I think that would make, I would feel more comfortable with that, because then at least I can see that the member is from a particular country by looking at the CCTLD that they're using. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you do that or encourage that, or it's a blank. And then when you're looking at, again, abuse contacts, you want people to update abuse information. Then mail shot us. Tell us what to do. And if it's a form that needs to be filled in, you could probably send more or less the complete form to us so that we can simply email it back completed or something like that. Wouldn't that make your life easier? Because you can automate it, you've got the database, it wouldn't take that long to do, and then therefore you're going to catch up much quicker with the things that are outstanding. And thank you very much for sticking around.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, the self-service, it's like a sort of self-service tool for the abuse contact is being considered, in fact. I mean, we'll do our best to facilitate this thing.
Yaku, I think most of you know me by now. Firstly, thank you very much to everyone on the board and on the staff that's been, well, sticking around. And then just to answer Mark, that automatic update, what we've done is that form is on a very specific URL, so you can HTTP post it using something like curl. Just need to include the maintainer password.
Tell us.
Yeah, I've been told by staff when I asked for the API, and yes, hoping that my AFRINIC 2 will have a proper API for that. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Non-policy stuff. So there is a community consultation regarding the review of the AFRINIC bylaws. The announcement was made earlier in the week, and the consultation period would end on the 10th of May. Right? I know for a fact our members must have received a direct email regarding that. If you have not yet done so, please check, or I've also put in the URL for the consultation here. It's form-based. I checked it, so you have the relevant sections of the bylaw is already there. If you read it, if you have any comment, you put down your comments and you move to the other sections. But if you really stretch for time, in case you have burning points, you know exactly where you want to contribute in that, in the bylaw review, please feel free. And don't wait for the last minute, please. All right? Because there's a timeline, so they're gathering feedback, then they will start drafting, then there's another consultation that is happening. I think there are 2 rounds of consultation or 2 rounds of drafting. No, 2 rounds of drafting. All right? Until then, there's a plan. It's already on the website as to when the bylaws will be presented to our resource members, okay? Because it's the resource members who vote for changing bylaws, right? So it's a serious business here. You know, you've been with us when we've had challenges. So in case you have your inputs, please don't hesitate. Please don't delay in providing us with that. Second one, thank you very much. I think some of you, not all of our South African members, some of our South African members participated in last year's elections for the directors. So we are continuing the registration of the designated representatives. So these people will represent the resource members, okay? In the upcoming elections, there are some seats, community seats that are up for elections. There's no direct elections happening. And also there will be the annual general members meeting, okay? So the designated representatives, you have to, as a resource member, you submit the form, okay, the letter backed with all the information that's requested of you. It will be processed, and your designated representative will be recorded, and also will receive further communications when the annual general members meeting announcements go out. If they have to participate in the elections, the GovCom elections is the purely resource members, so they will receive their voting credentials, etc. Right? So it's ongoing now. When is the annual general members meeting? So it will happen during the week that we'll be having the African Internet Summit. Okay? And I've put down the 2 key dates there. The public policy meeting, the meeting during which any policy proposals will be discussed, where the PDP co-chairs will try and determine whether there's a rough consensus in the community. That will happen on the 24th of June, and the AGMM will happen on the 25th of June, right? Those are the key dates. With technology, with COVID, we've perfected online meetings, right? As much as this meeting will be held in hybrid mode, will be in Nairobi, Kenya. In case you cannot travel, register for the meeting. You can state that you're registering online, all right? And you will be getting the Zoom links, etc., reminders on the D-Day, on the specific days, that these sessions are happening. And from your desk, wherever you are, you can attend the sessions. You can participate in the sessions, right? So on this, I've reached the end of my slides. So thank you very much for your support all this time. And I hope that when you speak with your colleagues who are not here, who have already left, that you tell them about what AFRINIC has requested, the resource members here. All right, we will try and do this in other countries as well, where we're conducting outreaches or where we're having conversations with the resource members. And yeah, I hope to see the numbers grow. And perhaps if I'm presenting next year at Zanog, I would show you better numbers in terms of the participation in terms of the growing of our community with representatives of our resource members. Thank you very much. If there are any further questions, okay to take them. But if you have questions for James. Donald. Okay.
Hi, my name is Donald Jolly from the Zanog community. Thank you very much to the AFRINIC staff for their grit over the last few years. We really do appreciate it. James, we are engaging with AFRINIC with the IPv6 deployathon, and so hopefully in the next 4 or 5 months we will have one in South Africa. So that is also putting it out there to the community. Look out for that we will have IPv6 deployathon in South Africa, in Johannesburg. Beta testers, are you still looking for them, or are you going to reach out to them?
So, yes, we'll be reaching out to beta testers for all the products that I said. So both, even for my AFRINIC V2 as well, we'll be reaching out as well to members. For some of the input is something that we've already gathered for a long time, but even for more information, we'll be reaching out. For beta testers on RPKI dedicated mode, as well as CREER, the AS0 implementation, we'll also be reaching out to beta testers.
Would you like people to reach out to you, or will you?
Yeah, sure. So that is possible. We'll communicate publicly, but also if somebody is ready to reach out, they can already let us know.
Okay, thank you. And just out of interest, do you have international CDNs requesting IPv4 and IPv6 resources?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I think, for instance, we do have a few. I can recall in mind, CrowdFrare has come for membership, and they are a resource member with us.
Okay.
So we do have a few others. I can just bring the names to mind.
Yeah, because I do notice that there are a large number of CDNs coming into Africa, and they are actually using AFRINIC IP space. So I just thought that instead of them using it from another, member, that they should become members and get their own IP space. Would they just go through the standard application?
Yes. So standard application, I think one of the key areas that we've experienced in the past is the Section 6 of the bylaw, which requires a member to be physically present and legally incorporated and operating within the region. So that element, if they are legally incorporated in the region, so that makes it possible for them.
Okay.
Otherwise, that bylaw section, if they cannot, then it becomes a blocker.
Okay, that's possibly where it could be an issue. And then, Madhvi, just a comment, something from a Zanog perspective as well, is communicating with members. We found that people in South Africa, the younger people, tend not to know how to use email, I think. So I've noticed across the continent that people are not using email as their primary source. I completely understand, and I think mailing lists are the best thing. However, have you thought about using other communication channels to get information out? You don't have to answer that, but if you would like to.
Well, we can use any communication channels to reach out, but the policy discussions have to come to the mailing list.
Yeah, that's great. For policy discussions, great. But also just general, around elections, how elections may work, when the next one is. People have a very short attention span. They don't check their emails, or they just disappear into spam. So just, a Telegram, WhatsApp, whatever, broadcast community, just some thoughts, on that. Maybe just give it some thought internally. And then you are always welcome back at Zanog. In case nobody knows, it's in Cape Town next year. Thanks, everyone.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
So, question?
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Zano team, for going through all the trouble putting together that slide and presentation and being willing to answer any question that might be asked. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.